This was a situation where they just had to drive my car somewhere. I just wanted kitty litter. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's StepsBasic, and welcome back to my community show. So anyway, that's not what's important. What is important is for today. I wanted to do one of those things that I was talking about in the last video I made. And I know I've been gone for 2 weeks now? Yeah, I wanted to do some story time. I want to talk about some stuff that happened to me, and it was kind of interesting. Not really. It was more of an annoyance. So, a couple weeks ago, I know I talked about this a little bit. I hinted at it. I referenced it, where I had to get a new tire for my car. And that was a very interesting day, I tell you what, because it started out like any normal day. Now, to preface this story, I do want to mention that I am a fairly masculine man. I take kind of pride in some of the more masculine traits that I have, and including the the drive to always want to fix my problems. And so when it comes to problems, I want to fix them. A little redundant, but that's fine. That's fine. Redundancy is okay, because redundancy means that, hey, at least we've got a backup, right? But anyway, that doesn't matter. So, bearing that in mind, we also come to the fact that in my adult life, I have never particularly learned how to maintain a car. No, but of course, this doesn't mean that I don't know anything about cars. In fact, I've managed to pick up quite a few things without actually deliberately learning about how to repair cars, including, but not limited to, how to replace batteries, how to replace tires, how to replace spark plugs, how to replace small little parts of the vehicle. And as such, I have never really had an issue where I'd be like, if something happens to my car, I will never be completely out in the cold, as it were. And so when this happened, this came up a few weeks ago, this flummoxed me to no end. But of course, I'm always the type of person who wants to fix the issue. And of course, I ain't going to let an issue lie. If I can do something about it, I'm going to do something about it. Right? So, this all started off with a day where I'm like, we need kitty litter. Now, of course, I'm running low on money for the month because it's towards the end of the month, right? But I got enough money to buy some kitty litter, so that's great. So I go down, and me and my kiddo, we hop in the car, and we're like, we're going to go down to the Harris Teeter, and we're going to pick us up some of that kitty litter for the cat, because she, needs something to poop in. And at this point, we've got 2 cats now, so we're like, okay, we need to take care of both cats, because if we don't have enough kitty litter, then both cats are going to be pooping everywhere, especially my cat, who's a little prima donna, and if she sees a little bit of dookie in her litter box, she gets a pissy. Literally, not figuratively, like she'll piss in my room, and it's gross. And, little prima donna that she is, we want to make sure that she's well taken care of, because that's who we are. We care about our cats. But anyway, so we hop in the car and head out to the Harris Teeter to get ourselves some kitty litter. And of course, kiddo and I are just vibing to the music, but I'm sitting there thinking, there's some funny sound going on out there. I'm sitting there, what is that sound? And I roll down the window, and I'm looking up at the sky, and I'm like, there's no airplanes up there, so I don't know what that sound is. It kind of sounds like a helicopter, maybe. But no, it's not a helicopter. And I'm like, oh, maybe it was just another car passing us by. But then I roll up the window again, and I'm like, oh, so that sounds in my head right now, because we can hear it. It's everywhere. Now, of course, this isn't the first time this has ever happened to me, which is kind of weird, because you'd think I would recognize the sound of a flat tire that I happen to be driving on at the moment, because I'm an idiot. But definitely should have recognized the sound of a flat tire. Now, of course, this is annoying, but it's nothing new. I can handle this. But we didn't know this. I didn't realize it was a flat tire fast enough. So we drove all the way to Harris Teeter. We're in the parking lot in the gas station of the Harris Teeter. And for those of you who don't know, there's the main building right here, and then just a little bit off to the side here is the gas station, which is just the pumps and a small little shack for that thing, and an air pump, which is where we pulled into. I pulled into the air pump. This does kind of feel like a flat tire, because on the way there, I was like, release my hands from the wheel. Yep, we're drifting this way. There's definitely something wrong with my tire. But, of course, I had to get to Harris Teeter, so we went all the way out there, and we parked at the air pump. I'm like thinking, maybe this is a flat tire. I'm an idiot. And let's just be a lesson to anyone out there. If you hear or feel a flat tire, stop driving immediately. This is a lesson I learned a decade ago when I did the exact same thing. If you have a flat tire, do not drive on it. Now, I don't know why the tire was flat initially because, well, I just recently, and the tires were less than a year old. Brand new, too. Not like I bought used tires. So, of course, me and my kiddo, we're out there, and I hop out of the car, and I look at the front tire, look at the back tire, look at the front tire, and then I look at the other back tire. I'm like, that tire is very flat. Woo. And, of course, I'm like, well, darn it. So I go ahead and I grab my jack and I put it under the car and I jack it up. And, of course, this isn't going very well. It's not jacking up very fast because, I don't know, I didn't missing a part from my jack. So this stay is already just... So this is where it begins, the mantra of, we just wanted kitty litter. And, of course, so I'm jacking up the car. I'm like, okay, this jack is broken. Great. Good. I have another one. That's okay. So I go in, I take all of the junk out of my trunk. I got some junk in my trunk, but I take it all out of my trunk, and then I go below into the compartment where my spare tire is, and I remove that donut, which is in there, and I put it on the side, and I pull out the plastic bottom of that where my other spare tire is, my donut. So yes, I've got two donuts. One of them, however, does not fit my car, so roll with that. Anyway, so I go in there and I pull out my second donut and I put it on the ground and I grab the jack that came with the car and I put that under the car and I'm reading the instructions on it because new jack, don't want to mess anything up, and put it under there, start wink, 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 wink. And this thing is the slowest and weakest jack I have ever used. But I end up getting it off the ground. Now, of course, my car being what it is rear-wheel drive, which is weird, but I'm not going to complain. You're going to complain. So I go in there. Sorry, it's a front wheel drive. Did I say rear wheel? It's a front wheel drive. So of course I don't want to fully lift the whole car up because you want to be able to unloose the nuts, the bolts, whatever. Lugs. There are proper terms for things. They're steps. But anyway, so you go in there and you start loosening them up. You do star pattern because you got to do a star pattern. Otherwise, something happens. I don't know. But I get them all off, and then I grab the tire, and I'm like, okay, the darn thing doesn't move, like not even a little bit. So I'm like, okay, maybe I don't have it up enough. So I'm like, second time, we just wanted kitty litter. But okay, so I get it up. So it is definitely off the ground now. And it's up in the air. And at this time, somebody pulls up and they're like, hey, you having trouble with your tire there? I'm like, yeah, I am. And so he goes and gets some tools out and we're trying to pry the tire off. Nothing. Doesn't budge at all. It's like it's a tire. I've done this several times before. I've replaced tires at least 20 times in my lifetime. Not necessarily my tires, mind you, but I have replaced tires on trucks, on cars, on little bikes, on everything. I have replaced it. Well, not everything. I've never done a semi because those things are huge. But anyway, I've replaced tires so many times and I've never had this problem before. Maybe I'm just stressed. I just wanted kitty litter. So the guy, he's like, okay, sorry, I can't help you. And then he drives around and he parks on the other side and then uses the air pump there. I send my daughter into the store with $20 to say, hey, go pick up some Fix-A-Flat. Now, this was, again, another stupid thing to do because, again, if you've got a flat tire, do not drive on it. So she goes and she grabs the Fix-A-Flat, which, kudos to her. She found the right product, paid for it, and came out and gave it to me. I know that doesn't seem like a big achievement, but for her it was, and I was very proud of her for doing it. So I go and I fix the Fix-A-Flat onto it. Instead of doing the smart thing, which would have been to pump air into it and find the hole, I put the Fix-A-Flat into it. And of course, you see it spritz out the back. And you're like, well, poop. So I go and start fingering the back of the tire. I'm like, oh, that hole was about that big. A little too big for the Fix-A-Flat. And so I'm like, okay. This was actually after I was done with the Fix-A-Flat. And then I'm like, okay, it didn't do anything. And I started using the air. And the air, that's how I found the hole. Which is what you should do. Use the air first. That way you don't waste $20 on a can of Fix-A-Flat. Now, by this time, I have called up and registered with my insurance, which is USAA. Kudos to them. They're pretty cool. And they're like, okay, we're going to send a tow truck out to you. Where do you want to go? I'm like, well, just take me to the nearest tire shop. I just wanted some kitty litter. Seriously, just wanted some kitty litter. And so the USAA folks are like, okay, cool. We found the closest tire shop to you is a Pep Boys. And I'm like, cool. I don't know of any Pep Boys in the area, but cool. You would know better. You probably have access to all the maps of my place right now. So they're like, okay, yeah, we'll send a tow truck out to you right away. And then I look at the map. I get the address for the Pep Boys, and I look at the Pep Boys, and I'm like, that Pep Boys is 5 miles away. No big deal. That's pretty close. Tow truck driver shows up. Well, no, wait. Sorry, jumping ahead a little bit. I had to call my friend, my best friend, my pal. He shows up to pick up my kiddo to take her home because there's no way I'm going to have her going off to the shop with me because that's kind of an annoyance. And I saw a little tag on the insurance company that said due to COVID restrictions, kiddos cannot give you a ride to the shop. Like, so I'm walking. I already know I'm walking. So I'm not going to be sending my kiddo to walk with me for 5 miles. Now, I've done plenty of long scale walks before, and so this was nothing new to me. But, I'm older now. And I'm like, I know I can do it, but I'm not sure how much I'm going to enjoy it. So my friend shows up. He's like, we chit-chat for a little bit. He takes my daughter home so that she doesn't have to hang out with me. And I have to sit there for about another 20 minutes before the tow truck driver shows up. And I'm like, sir, when the tow truck driver finally shows up, I'm like, sir, I read the instructions and it said no, due to the restrictions that I'm not allowed to get a ride from you. He's like, yep, that's right. Harry can't give you a ride. I'm like, fine, it's cool. No, I understand. I'm not going to be a butt about this. I appreciate you doing this for me. You are amazing, and thank you. And within seconds, he's got the car up on the truck, and the truck drives away, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to head over there to the Harris Teeter, and I just wanted kitty litter. I go in there, and I buy myself a bottle of water, because it's not a cold day, but it's not a hot day either. It's kind of a little bit of middle. So it's actually kind of a beautiful day for a walk. Honestly, it's a beautiful day. So I'm ready for it, but I'm going to get me some water first. I'm going to walk out there, and I dial up Pep Boys on my way out, on my way to the road. And now, this is basically a long straight shot. It's like half a mile maybe to the main road, and then 4.5 miles to Pep Boys. I don't have to make any turns. It's great. It's perfect. Mwah. I call it Pep Boys, and I'm like, hey, I'm sending you my car. They should be there pretty soon. And the guy's like, yeah, the Prius. Yeah, we got you. Yeah, I see you come in. Yeah, it's great. I'm like, cool. Yeah. Do you have a tire for less than $80? And the guy's like, ooh, I don't know about that. And I'm like, yeah, I just need it off the wheel. Get the old one off, the new one on, all for less than $80. And he's like, ooh, don't know about that. I'm like, well, if you don't, could you just put the donut on there? The donut is in the back of the car. Just pop that one on there and pop the old one off. Pop that one on there. If you can't find one for $80, he's like, you got to do that. That won't be too much trouble. I'm like, sweet, thanks, dude. And so I'm like walking along, just chilling, just minding my own business. I get to the intersection of the smaller road and the big main thoroughfare, and I'm like, hey, there's a tire shop right over there. Interesting. So this is when I start. This is when it starts. I'm like, I'm going to start making tally of this. I'm like, oh, there's one. And then guy calls me back. He's like, dude. I'm like, what? I'm like, dude, we found one. We got one. $81 out the door, on the car and out the door. You don't have to worry about nothing else. $81. That's the whole bottom line. I'm like, sweet, dude, you are Awesome. It's not exactly $80 like I asked, but it's $81 and I can afford it because I have $85. So I'm like, sweet, I get a tire. So the guy's like, cool, yeah, all right. And I'm like, well, I am almost to the main thoroughfare now, and I will be there when I'm there. And the guy's like, cool, no problem. You be here. We don't close until such and such time. I'm like, sure, it's going to take me about an hour. It'll be great. And so I'm like, cool. And that's basically the last time I'm going to hear from him during my whole walk. But we're walking along, thinking to myself, I just wanted kitty litter. And so we headed out there. And I'm headed out there. And like I said, I'm starting to make tally of it. The first one I passed. Okay, no big deal. Maybe they didn't know about it. It's a bit of a small tire shop. Another one I passed. Slightly bigger name. Still a smaller tire shop. AutoZone. It's got its own tire shop in it. Then we have another one. And another one. And another one. Then 3 dealerships. I literally passed no less than 10 tire shops on this walk. One of them closer than a mile from where I was. And I'm like, USA, why you do this to me? Now, bear in mind that USA is not centered here in this area, so it doesn't necessarily know the area. But one would expect that, like, I pull out my phone and I type into my phone to the Google, I type into it. I'm like, local tire shops. Boom! So many tire shops pop up. But for some reason, the closest to me was Pep Boys. And bear in mind, this was not a situation where the insurance company was going to pay for it. No. Because if that were the case, I would have just gotten a new tire and not even worried about it and been like, okay, cool. But no, this wasn't a situation where USA was paying for it. This was a situation where they just had to drive my car somewhere. I just wanted kitty litter. So, I'm walking, and I'm keeping good pace too. I actually saw a guy in an electronic wheelchair driving, and I'm like, I wonder if I can be faster than him. But no, he dusted me, dude. But then I ended up walking past this intersection where there's a bum, usual bum. He sits out there, panhandling and whatnot. I don't know how well he does, but we match up speed, and we're talking for a bit, and it's kind of cool. He's like, yeah, I had a buddy who made it good. He got hit by a Hampton Roads Transit bus, and then got settled $6 million, and I ain't never seen him again. I'm like, I hate to say it, but good for that guy, right? He lost a thumb, but gained $6 million. And we're just walking along. I'm like, and he's like, so dude, what you walking out here for? I'm like, I just wanted kitty litter, man. And so I explained to him what happened. He's like, oh, well, that sucks. I'm like, dude, you're homeless. You make me feel bad. But no, I'm not making fun of the homeless guy because, having done that myself, I know it's not a fun way to live. And so, yeah, finally, 1 hour later, yes, I managed to make 5 miles in 1 hour, despite being an old man. I make it out there. I walk into Pep Boys, and I'm like, hey. I'm not actually winded because I kept a fairly decent, stable and steady pace the whole time, but I'm not really winded. So I walk in there, but I had to make it for comedic effect. I'm like, and the guy's voice was easily identifiable because he had a bit of a lisp. So I walk up and I hear the guy talk. I'm like, hey, you're my hero. He's like, yeah, your car's not done yet. And I'm like, I actually made it here with time to sit down. Like, yeah, there's the waiting room right there if you want to go ahead and sit down. So I went and I sat down, and I'm just sitting down for about a minute, and then the guy comes out. It's like, hey, your car's done. I'm like, I got a minute out of it at least. And the workman comes out, and he's like, you're the guy that had to walk? I'm like, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, that sucks. I can't believe they wouldn't give you a ride. I'm like, yeah, man, that kind of sucks. Just needed a little ride, but no. And so I'm like, I have to ask, dude. Was there something holding my tire on and I'm just dumb? Or was I just weak and just couldn't move the thing? He's like, no, it was stuck on there, but it was nothing holding on. So at least I know I wasn't dumb. I just didn't have the proper tools, as it were. And I talked to my brother-in-law. He's like, yeah, usually when that happens, we just kick the heck out of it and it breaks the rust or whatever might be holding it on. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I know now. So I learned a lesson. Didn't get my kitty litter, but I got my car for $81. Got a new tire, and was out the door, And this whole time I'm texting my daughter, telling her what's going on too, making sure she doesn't worry. And but I made it home safely. No kitty litter. I just wanted kitty litter. But anyway, that is the end of this story time. Let me know if you enjoyed it. Hopefully you have any input and want to make fun of me for not putting the tire on, not being able to get the tire on. I perfectly understand, because I made fun of myself so much about that. But at the end of the day, it was an adventure, and I like adventures. So, for announcements for today, for this week, we are moving right along in Borderlands 3, having so much fun with it. I've seen a lot of growth on like all of my social medias lately, which is kind of cool. I really like that. It's really interesting, very, very exciting, especially with TikTok. We're now almost 12,000 followers over there, so a checkbox in my one of my goals for the year. Nailed it. Yeah, my health is going weird. I'm on a new pill now. Hydrochlorothiazide, which is some sort of a water pill that makes me pee a lot. Also, it's been giving me some weird side effects, but I'm not sure if it's just me adjusting to the meds or anything, but it's there. Apart from that, no more announcements, no more story time. Thank you all so much for joining me for this episode of Steps Basic Gaming Community Show. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you did, please go and poke that like button for it. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you're more than welcome to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And when I can, if I can, you know, all that jazz. And tune in next time for another story, another time. And until then, good night.